All right, friends, here are five books that I would suggest for you to read in 2025, and then here's why. See, these books all, I literally, I looked at my library, and if you don't know, I own over 3,000 books, somewhere between 3,000 and 3,500 books in my library. And I looked at them and I said, hey, this year, given the economic uncertainty, stuff going on in the real estate market, all of those things, what are five books that I would recommend someone in the real estate world read? It's these. All right. So, first one, look, this is always going to be a go to book. You've heard me, if you've stuck around here for more than a minute, you've heard me recommend this. It's The Go Giver by Bob Burg. This book, it's the five laws of stratospheric success, and it's written in a story format, very easy to read. I've read it over 20 times. The reason why I think not only is it important to read it this year, maybe you've read it before, revisit it because it shares the story of someone who is struggling. They're basically at a breaking point in their career, and it shares a story of how he has to learn, what's important to overcome that as well as to win during a difficult time. And I think that can apply today. And so brush this book off if you've read it before. If not, please, it's the number one book. Do yourself this favor. And truly, it can remind you that when you are struggling, one of the best things you can do is give first. And I can't say enough about this book. All right. So the second book I'm going to recommend, this is my favorite real estate book. So if you've been here around, I've recommended this one before, and let me tell you why I recommend it this year. Um, Truly, this is one of my top three mentors, and I'm not recommending the book just because he's my top mentor. Guys, this book has sold, I think a few 100,000 copies. Like it's not some book that barely no one knows about. It's Building Wealth One House at a Time by John Schaub. This is the third, revised and expanded third edition. One of the things I love about John is that he is a sophisticated investor. He's been investing since the 70s, still invests now. I mean, I was just talking with him last week. I'm going to do an interview with him hopefully next week. Um, but John does a fantastic job of breaking things down simply and reminding you of the basics. So, like, for example, one of my favorite lessons from John, which is it sounds so simple, but who rarely does this, right? It's this idea that when you do a deal, stop and say, hey, how could I have done it better? Is there anything I could improve on? So many times we just get so busy going from deal to deal that we often can hurt ourselves. And so John, he's a creative investor. So there's some creative financing tips in here. I mean, this guy's it's a little bit thicker than Go Giver for sure. But I love the principles in this book. Look, I always say throw Rich Dad Poor Dad out the window. This should be the number one real estate book. It is so practical. It is so helpful. And I think anyone, regardless if you're looking to do your first deal or your 100th and first deal, that this is a good read for anyone. Literally, I've given this book to so many people who are wanting to, maybe they've bought a few deals, but they're trying to get some traction, looking to do their first deal. Hands down, one of my favorite. I think this one is super important for 2025 because it's a reminder to go back to the basics. It's a reminder to not overcomplicate things. And so my third book has a similar theme to this book. And I know this author is heavily influenced by John. So this book, it's Building Wealth One House at a Time. And so it's this concept of um, you know, the tortoise and the hare, right? It's everyone likes the idea of being the hare, but who wins the race, right? And so the third book I recommend for 2025 is The Small and Mighty Investor by Coach Chad Carson. So this is a good friend of mine. Again, he's another student of John Schaub. Chad has a great podcast. This is a Bigger Pockets book, by the way. It's How to Reach Financial Freedom with Fewer Rental Properties. The reason why I think that this book is important is because, again, Chad is very similar to John, is because he breaks things down simply, but he is still a very sophisticated investor. But in this book, honestly, I think for 2025, what's important is I think the people who try to go, who who were all gas, all offense, no defense, are the folks who are currently in a world of trouble. And I think if you approach 2025 the same, you will find yourself in a similar boat. And so it's this idea of how can you do more with less? That is the premise here. That's both why I recommend both of these books as well. So The Small and Mighty Investor by Coach Chad Carson. All right, this next book, my book number 4, you've heard me reference this book a lot. I have multiple versions of this book because this book has been around. Let me see. This book has been around. It was originally, so this is the 2004 edition, but it was originally written. Does it say it inside this one? Let me see. Let me pull the one out. The other one I have. All right. The older one that I have. Bear with me. It was originally written 1932. Is that right? I don't know. I'm questioning myself. Hold on. All right, so I questioned myself. All right, so I have the 2004 edition, the 1994 edition, 2004 edition, and I go and I pull out the one of the old. I have 2 more copies of this, 1968. Okay. Thank you, Peter Fortunato, for this your notes in this older version. All right, so this is the book I'm going to recommend. 1968 was its first original. It's been modified, so I've got a few different versions. Like this is like the 1994 version, and this is a 2004 version. This is the most common one you can get. Don't try to find the other ones. I mean, if you do, it just takes longer. But this one you can generally get for 15 bucks or less online. But it's How to Finance Any Real Estate, Any Place, Anytime, Strategies at Work by James A. Misko. This book I love because it's basically, I think it's like 45 chapters and it's case studies. So like, for example, um, basically at the end of the day, it gives case studies of some creative ways to do deals. And in 2025, in a changing market, critical for you to be creative. It does it for single family, it does it for apartments, like multifamily, for land, does it as a real estate operator as well as a real estate agent. And so literally there's so many different ones. Oh, it's more than 45. Um, like literally it's literally um case studies. And so I think this is one, I'll be very honest, it's very meaty. And so I took my sweet time going through it. And then here is the 5th and final book that I recommend. I love old school methods, by the way, guys. I'm a big fan of them, to educate yourself on how to properly tackle, it's one of those things, although some laws may be updated, but like I love the old school way of thinking. It's not flashy, but it is full of operators. All right, 5th book for 2025 that I recommend you read. Guys, this is the year that you have to have strong skill sets to survive. And so here's one of them. Raising Private Money has helped me not only tackle deals where I'm paying, pure cash. So I have a closing today. I'm using private money. I just yesterday secured another new private money lender for a subject to deal that I bought that I am refinancing out because that subject to deal just became wearisome. The borrower died. They kept assigning the notes like we couldn't keep up to where the new loan was. We had all sorts of issues with it. So this is one of my favorite books to recommend on private money. It's called Getting the Money by Susan Lassiter Lyons. It's how to raise 250,000 in private money in the next 30 days. I think that this is a great tool to learn how to raise private money. I'm not talking hard money, and I'm not talking from a lender who, is 12 points and 12% interest and 5 points. That's rarely something that I am looking for, because most deals can't support that. So, with that being said, these are the 5 books that I think you would do well. Meaning, I think these are 5 skill sets you would do well having. So, from the Go Giver, it's this mindset of how do you overcome difficult times, and then how one of the biggest ways is through learning how to help people and how to give and how to position yourself to be around being a helper around people to where you attract success, you attract business. The second one, the building wealth one house at a time. It's reminding the basics, and that, you know, the tortoise and the hare story, right? Then the small and mighty investors, this idea of playing defense, and that if you are all you're doing is chasing volume without a level of defense, you could be putting yourself in a world of hurt. How to finance real estate any place, anytime. That is something that, again, it's having different options, the creative skill sets as well, and then getting to the money, that one, private money, those things. When financing get tough or expensive, or whatever that may look like, guys, these are 5 books I think you do well reading. Let me know if any of these are new to you. If you've read any of these, let me know in the comments below. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Again, I think if you've read them before, it might be a good year to refresh your memory on them. And so, guys, I hope you're having a great day. Thanks for tuning in. Subscribe if you haven't already. See you again tomorrow.